Court records, sworn testimony, and flight logs connected Jeffrey Epstein to people, properties, and systems across the world. In 1998, Jeffrey Epstein purchased Little St. James, a private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. They showed hundreds of flights between Epstein's properties in New York, Florida, New Mexico, and the Virgin Islands. Financial accounts and transaction records became key evidence in understanding how Epstein managed his wealth and operations. Beginning in 2019 and continuing through 2024, thousands of pages of court documents were released publicly. Some files don't just expose crimes, they expose networks. Court records, sworn testimony, and flight logs connected Jeffrey Epstein to people, properties, and systems across the world. Today, we're counting down 5 of the strangest documented connections linked to the Epstein files. And at number 1, we'll reveal the connection that brought global attention and is still making headlines today. This is Power of 5. Succubur 5, the private island. In 1998, Jeffrey Epstein purchased Little St. James, a private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Public property records confirmed the purchase, and over the years, Epstein built multiple residences, guest villas, and private docks. This island later became a key focus in federal investigations. In 2019, after Epstein's arrest, the FBI conducted searches there as part of their criminal inquiry. The island wasn't illegal itself, but investigators believed it played a central role in Epstein's operations. Its isolation, privacy, and restricted access made it one of the most closely examined locations in the entire case. The flight logs. One of the most documented pieces of evidence came from Epstein's private aircraft flight logs. These logs were maintained by pilots and later entered into court records. They showed hundreds of flights between Epstein's properties in New York, Florida, New Mexico, and the Virgin Islands. Investigators used these records to establish timelines and movements. The logs became important because they were official aviation documents, not rumors or speculation. They showed just how extensive Epstein's travel network really was. 3. Financial institution connections. One of the most important documented connections involved Epstein's banking relationships. Public reporting confirmed Epstein was a client of major financial institutions, including J.P. Morgan Chase. Epstein remained a client there until 2013. In 2023, J.P. Morgan agreed to pay $290 million to settle a lawsuit brought by Epstein victims without admitting wrongdoing. Court filings showed internal discussions about Epstein as a client. Financial accounts and transaction records became key evidence in understanding how Epstein managed his wealth and operations. These financial connections showed how Epstein remained financially active even after earlier legal issues. 2. The 2008 plea deal. One of the most controversial documented connections involved Epstein's 2008 federal plea agreement. Epstein pleaded guilty in Florida to state charges and served about 13 months in custody with work release privileges. The agreement also granted immunity to certain associates, which later became a subject of national controversy. In 2019, the U.S. Department of Justice stated the agreement violated federal law by failing to notify victims properly. This plea deal allowed Epstein to avoid more serious federal charges at that time, and raised major questions about accountability and influence. 1. The unsealed court documents. The most significant connection came from Epstein's unsealed court records. Beginning in 2019 and continuing through 2024, thousands of pages of court documents were released publicly. These included sworn testimony, victim statements, and investigation records. These documents came from lawsuits, federal investigations, and court proceedings. They provided the clearest official picture of Epstein's activities and network. Importantly, being mentioned in documents does not imply guilt, but the records helped investigators, journalists, and the public understand the scale of the case. These files transformed Epstein's story from a private criminal investigation into a global public case. It was no longer hidden, it was documented. The Epstein files showed how power, wealth, and secrecy can intersect, and how documented evidence can eventually bring hidden systems into public view. These weren't rumors, they were records. And in the end, the files told a story that the world could finally see. If you want more true, documented stories like this, subscribe to Power of 5, because sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.